You want me to put that on my todger?
Total cheese. Most people like cheese. Great on pizzas. Fantastic with some crackers. Whether you're a fan of halloumi, camembert, gruyere, grana padano, roquefort, emmental, taleggio, fontina, stilton. Lots of different cheeses that you can enjoy, whether it's Tilsit or Croatin de Chavignon, Tom de Savoie, Sabrins, good old Philly, Barbato, Shropshire Blue, Crumbly Lancashire, extra mature cheddar. Whether it's any of those cheeses and the thousands of different ones that can be found around the world, cheese is pretty decent. Except when there's a cheese deluge. Ordinarily, when you go out for dinner and there's an option to have cheese as one of the courses, it's the proper thing for the cheese to be introduced to you. The cheese is brought and you're told which ones are what by the relevant waiter or waitress. The cheese is wheeled out. It isn't just stuck on the side of a plate and with a couple of grapes and some celery and you get on with it. When it's done properly in a proper restaurant, the cheese is introduced to you. I remember a few years ago I went to an excellent restaurant for a tasting menu, taking the relevant intimate partner primary sauce there at the time. And the cheese selection there was so good that the cheese was so grand that it actually couldn't be brought out to be introduced to me, but I was allowed to go and visit it. It had its own cupboard in effect. It was a large cupboard, beautifully arranged. And one would go in one at a time with the relevant cheesemeister. Then each of the cheeses sat there silently waiting on each shelf, a little bit like my intimate partner secondary sauces and non-intimate secondary sauces, I thought at the time, but I didn't make mention of it, of course, that would give the game away. And there they sat, waiting to be selected, slices to be taken from them and utilised for my enjoyment, just like the appliances one deals with. Cheese is rather excellent, but as I say, aside from when it appears in a cheese deluge. And of course, when it comes to Harry's wife and the ginger poodle, it's cheese ahoy. And we turn to the Super Silverway Sun and an article by Becky Pemberton that refers to the Lifetime film Harry and Harry's Wife Escaping the Palace. I've made mention of this before, but quite simply, it merited returning to it for the ridiculousness of it. The article explains a new clip, yes, a new clip of Harry's wife sobbing on the floor has been released as part of the trailer for the upcoming Lifetime film Harry and Harry's Wife Escaping the Palace. The fictional flick, which is set for release this autumn, focuses on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex stepping back from royal duties. I've watched the clip. Yes, your noble narrator took one for the team, exposing myself to a tsunami of cheese. My goodness me, it was so cheesy that it almost drove me crackers. The content of the material showed a pretty piss-poor look-alike for Prince Harry, looking earnest, perhaps as if one of his pals was giving him trouble, and the supposed look-alike for Harry's wife coming out with meaningful stares and talking about their truth. It all gave the impression, of course, of two people being hounded, a la Princess Diana, or Diana, Princess of Wales. And the parallels, of course, will be utilised by this film in order to try and get people to watch it. Indeed, in the trailer, there was a picture of an overturned vehicle and the paparazzi snapping away. So it's no surprise to note that there will be attempts to draw similarities between what happened to Diana, Princess of Wales, and what is apparently happening to the fame-hungry and publicity-seeking gruesome twosome. The Sun explains that the trailer shows a scene of a distressed Harry's wife, played by actress Sydney Morton, in Harry's arms on the floor. Huge drama, pity play. Harry's wife previously opened up to Oprah Winfrey about the downsides to being in the royal family and said that Prince Harry cradled her before they attended a Cirque du Soleil performance at Royal Albert Hall in 2019. First of all, that may not have happened. As I've explained elsewhere in the video, the truth, the half-truth and nowhere near the truth, the narcissist will invariably, as a consequence of the revision of history, invent occurrences. That's not to say that necessarily was the case here, but it could have been. We have seen other examples of the revision of history by Harry's wife, notably several of them emerging in the bombshell interview. Even if it did take place, there isn't a necessity to explain all of that to everybody else. It's a private matter between husband and wife, but you see, this is where the lack of boundary recognition of the narcissist comes into play. Everything is up for grabs. She thinks that everybody ought to know all of the details about what they do, except, of course, when she chooses to screen privacy in order to assert control. This hypocrisy appears regularly, and again is another hallmark of the narcissist. You will see with many famous narcissists that you are treated to knowing absolutely everything about their lives. You are shown, because of the ubiquity of social media, pictures of them crying, pictures of them laughing, pictures of them buying cornflakes. You'll see pictures of them sat eating something. You'll see pictures of them walking down the road, pictures of them buying shoes, pictures of them talking to their children. All the mundanities of life that everybody has. No different, just because you're a famous person, your shit still stinks, you need to sleep, you get hungry, like everybody else. And yet these individuals, because of their own grandiosity and their unconscious need to assert control and to maintain that control over people, feel a necessity to share this information with everybody, to make it people voyeurs of their lives. And of course, many people are interested. They fail to recognise that this person isn't that actually special, that they happen to be well known, and they feel that they're being given some kind of special glimpse into this individual's life. It's not special at all. They're invariably sharing it with you and millions of other people. The narcissist, of course, does this unconsciously driven by the need to pursue the prime aims, fuel, control, etc. And there is no boundary recognition. There's the operation of a sense of entitlement. And so this little part of this cheese-infused trailer, where we are told about Prince Harry cradling her before they attended a Cirque du Soleil performance at the Royal Albert Hall, if it did occur, and let's assume that it did, why not keep it to yourselves? But no, it's a pity play. You all need to know about the fact that I was dreadfully upset. You also need to know that I was dreadfully upset because of the way that people were treating me. Because from my perception, although she doesn't realise this, they were affecting her sense of control, and thus it caused her to believe that she was being singled out, picked upon, treated badly. This, of course, is where recollections may vary, and other people would say you were only ever provided with a supportive environment. Yes, you were told that you couldn't do things a certain way, but you understood that because you were joining an institution, a convention that has been there for hundreds of years, not when some Janie come lately comes wandering in, telling everybody that she doesn't like the smell in Westminster Abbey and it needs to be changed. The article continues. In another scene, the Queen can be telling off Harry and William for fueling uncertainty. It's about time, actually, that Her Majesty pulled down their shorts and made them join the Red Bottom Brigade, in my view. Certainly Harry, anyway. That might just ensure that he sorts himself out. A smack of firm governance from Grandma. The article also tells us that Harry's wife tells her husband, they need to hear the truth. Well, of course, as you know, with the narcissist, the truth is an elastic concept, and she has her own version of it, as you've been treated to on a repeated basis. Many royal fans were quick to comment on the new trailer on YouTube, with one saying, oh, I was so hoping this would be a hilarious parody. Well, actually, it will be, because it will take itself incredibly seriously. But even the trailer that I observed, in between rolling my eyes, fighting off the cheese, one can only snort in contempt at its ridiculousness. The article explains that another added, can't wait to not watch this. Harry and Harry's wife escaping the palace will air on Lifetime on September the 6th in the United States, but no date has been announced for the United Kingdom yet. I assume that's as a consequence of there being cheese stockpiles, cheese mountains already existing, and therefore there may not be any room for total cheese arriving, because this is what this programme is. It also leads open the question as to what involvement Harry's wife and Harry might have had in the film. Were they consultants to it, or have they nothing to do with it and somebody has just based it upon what they believe were the relevant events? Of course, we know that if Harry's wife did have some involvement in it, she'd want to control the narrative, quite simply because of her necessity to assert control, in the same way that she will control the narrative of Harry's buck, where, with his memoirs, it will simply be a case that Harry will just sit down and spew forth what has happened in his life while the ghostwriter does his very best to pull the sentences together into something meaningful and interesting. And of course, you know that everything that Harry says will be through the microphone of his wife. She will have primed him as to what to say, the points to advance, the stage to adopt. All of it, of course, as part of securing control over him and control through him of other people. It's undoubtedly going to be the case that there'll be further serialisations and television programmes and films about these two, because the drama is far from over. But here we have a slab of total cheese in a film that really doesn't merit anybody watching it, not only because it just looked completely preposterous with regard to the supposed lookalikes, but also the stilted dialogue and the loose connection to real events. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.